You're listening to Marana Town Talk, the official Town of Marana podcast for residents, businesses, and visitors. Every month, we cover a variety of topics relevant to living life here in the gateway to the southern Arizona. My name is Brad Alice, and this is my colleague, Vic Hathaway.
This episode, we look back at the inaugural Marana Macro Machines event, which celebrated public works employees and the amazing machines they get to work with every day. Then, we go on a ride-along with Marana Police Sergeant Criswell Scott to learn a bit more about what's going on in the department. We don't stay outside for too long, however, before we come back in to escape the heat and learn about the region's most precious resource, water. And finally, did you know that historically Marana's council members have been elected during the primary election? Learn everything you need to know to cast your ballot in August.
Thank you for listening to us today.
As always, there's a lot of things going on in the town of Marana. So, Brad, tell me, what's going on lately?
Well, if you remember last month, we had on Eric Montague and Michael Dykeman discussing the town budget, and on Tuesday the 19th, it formally passed. It's a multi-step process to pass the budget. They start making presentations about 6 months before, and at the time we had spoken to Mr. Montague and Mr. Dykeman, the tentative budget had been approved, and then they just go in, cross some T's, dot some I's. Well, the final budget was approved, and while we're still small in relative to maybe other cities in Arizona, the budget numbers are pretty impressive. $141 million involved in the town budget. Some interesting things people might want to note: that expenditures from the general fund are at about $49 million, so just a slight increase over the year before. However, the capital projects fund will see a decrease of 51%. And while you might worry, are you not spending money on capital projects? Well, no. What it is several major projects, including Tangerine Road and some of the other road projects came up and were completed and are going to be off the books. So altogether, the budget, as we discussed last week, balanced. It's a fiscally responsible budget, one that wins awards not only for being fiscally responsible, but for how transparent it is. And if you want to know more about the budget, we discussed all those tools last week, but you can check that on maranaaz.gov. Vic, I know you have had a large role in planning a slightly big event that's going to take place next month. Well, why don't you tell people a little bit more about some of the new details of the Star Spangled Spectacular?
Absolutely. So on 4th of July, over 16,000 people come to Crossroads at Silver Bell District Park, which is located in South Marana, close to Arizona Pavilions off of the Cortera Road exit by I-10. Every year, this event gets larger and larger and larger, and as always, the town of Marana is very cognizant to include public feedback as we plan for the next event. So this year, we have a couple new things that we're really excited to bring. Number one, we have increased our shuttles and we've increased our shuttle stops. Last year, we only had one shuttle location by Twin Peaks Elementary School. This time, we have three. One at Coyote Trail Elementary School, another at Continental Ranch Community Center, and the third at Twin Peaks Elementary School like before. We have 6 shuttles in rotation throughout those 3 locations and 2 handy cars. However, there will also be handicap parking at the Crossroads of Silver Bell District Park parking lot. At the end of the evening, when people have finished enjoying the fireworks and they can get ready to go back to their cars, we've increased our shuttle amounts to 11 shuttles and 2 handy cars that will take people back from the Crossroads of Silver Bell District Park parking lot.
That's probably very important because I know a lot of people missed the first round of shuttles last year and then thought the shuttles weren't there, when in actuality, a whole crop of people got taken to their cars and they had to wait for them to return. Now with 11, now with the 3 stops, it should be a much easier process to leave, because we know at the end of the night, maybe a little tired, maybe a little warm, maybe the little kids are asleep in your arms. So 11 shuttles, a little bit easier, and we appreciate the people who gave us that feedback, because from our point of view, it's kind of hard to know how to leave because we don't leave till after we clean up.
Absolutely. And as we keep trying to find new ways to improve our customer service at our events, we run into little snafus like last year where we realized this could have been done way better. And so we tried to address every issue that comes up, and this was one of those areas where we really hope that the increase in shuttles will definitely help in this area. Now, secondly, we are introducing a new security measure to our event, the introduction of bag checks. When you come to our event and you roll up and you have your coolers and your purses, be prepared to have your bag checked at several designated areas. This is to improve our overall security of the park. We just want to keep everybody safe. You can expect to have your things checked either at the shuttle stop locations or at the park entrances themselves. And so be prepared to just have your things ready to go when that happens, and then you can move right on into the park and enjoy your evening. Finally, we've designated smoking sections throughout the park, which I think will be a huge benefit to everybody there. A lot of people might not know this, but according to town code, smoking is actually prohibited within 25 feet of any athletic field, athletic facility, or children's play area. This includes inhaling, exhaling, carrying tobacco products, cigars, cigarettes, all those things. The entire park is a collection of those things, softball fields, baseball fields, and playgrounds. We before have not created a designated smoking area, but we're hoping that with the inclusion of 3 new smoking areas, one by the volleyball courts, the other the tennis court, and in between the baseball fields, we can accommodate more needs and be able to keep the general fields completely smoke-free. Later in the month of July, you can now anticipate 2 new events that are a reimagination of the Splash and Dash series. Brad, can you tell me more about this?
Yeah, Marana Parks and Rec at the Marana Pool at Orme Harn Park are having what they're calling the Aquathon. And they are very similar to the old Splash and Dashes, but what they are is they are a swim combined with a run on July 14th and July 28th. So you get 2 weeks to prepare, maybe try to improve your time on the second one. Young athletes and adult athletes can both participate in this event. Youth participants are those considered 13 and younger, and they will compete in a 200-yard swim and a 1-mile run. Older participants, adult participants, 14 years and older, get to push themselves a little bit more. They can go for a 350-yard swim and a 3-mile run. Times will be kept. Winners will be announced. It should be a fun thing. Again, for those of you who've done Splash and Dash, which have been wildly popular, families have done it. And I know they were talking, there's some that when the kids started, they could swim, but it took a while to get their swim. And then by the end, they were beating their parents' times. But now a new tradition with the Aquathon. And if you're interested, super easy to sign up. Just go to maranaz.gov/recreation. Take the links. It'll get you signed up. Fun event. Again, you can do it once or twice on July 14th or July 28th. There's more going on at the pool. Of course, you can swim just about every day, but not only are they showing a movie, they're going a little genre I like. They're showing Last Jedi for one of the dive-in movie. Once again, that's at the Orme Harn Pool.
Something that Town of Marana has been really trying to do lately with these last couple of years is bring really popular movies that are timely and relevant to our audiences throughout the year. And I'm personally really excited about The Last Jedi. I was a pro Last Jedi fan. I loved that movie. I'm a huge Kylo Ren fan. So I'm excited that we'll be able to enjoy that movie at the pool with the rest of the community.
I like most of it. I still have a little bit of a problem. I don't want to spoil it for you, but a droid could have done the job. That's all I'm going to say for those of you who haven't seen it. But overall, I did like the movie as well. I was there opening day for the original Star Wars in 1977 at 4 years of age. I have probably seen the original 300 times. I probably hurt my dating life in college by having a life-size cutout of Boba Fett in the corner of my dorm room. So yes, I'm a fan, and yes, the Alice children and probably 3 of the neighbor kids will be there as well. And the dive-in movies are fun because you get to lounge around the pool and kind of a different locale. I think all the movies and the free movies in Marana, which are at the parks, are fun, but this one, along with Splash Pad, are my personal favorites. Ironically enough, when my kids went to go see Moana last year at the Splash Pad, they actually watched it from the Jungle Gym, not from the Splash Pad, but it was a fun time had by all.
This movie is a great experience for all generations, so make sure to come out on July 21st. The pool will be open during the day. The movie begins when the sun goes down.
On Friday, May 25th, the Town of Marana held their first annual Marana Macro Machines event. Originally, the idea was to celebrate Public Works Week and give people an insight into what our Public Works Department does. But as the Public Works Department talked among themselves and later with other departments, they realized that the event had a chance to really showcase a lot of the great things that go on in the town of Marana. Specifically, the idea was originally just to show off some of the really cool and interesting machines whether they be earth movers, whether they be dump trucks, things like that kids might find very interesting. All those kids who play with their toy cars or their Tonka trucks would like to see the life-size version. But as the idea grew, they realized that other departments and other divisions within the town also have really neat things to see. So eventually, the idea grew from not just showcasing Public Works, but showcasing much of the town. Public Works Director Mo El Ali explained exactly how they got some of these other departments involved.
Public Works includes several departments. It's not just the Public Works at the Town of Marana. It includes all the areas that serve the town in regards to streets, traffic, water, sewer, parks, and we also partnered with the other departments, and we wanted to see if they have interest in participating in Public Works Week, and they were willing to participate to give information out to the public and have a discussion with our community.
The event really did showcase a lot of different things. Again, the earth movers, the what you would call a steamroller, things like that, the big trucks, the big tractors were all on display, and those were center points. Also, out there were a lot of the things from Marana Police Department. There were squad cars, but it didn't even stop there. Our partners from Northwest Fire came out, had a fire truck on hand. The van that they used to grade the roads, which actually helps Public Works decide which roads need to be repaired the fastest, was on display. And then members of Public Works, members of our traffic and engineering departments, members of water and police and airport were also out there to talk to people, to let them know what they do on a daily basis, to show them, I know one of the ones that was very popular with some of the parents and grandparents out there was how do they run the traffic lights? How do they change them? How do those ideas come out? There were a lot of free giveaways. Kids were given little plastic hard hats. Some plants were being handed out. Water, popsicles, fun things like that as well. So overall, it was a successful event. We anticipated we anticipated a couple hundred. We hoped for 300, maybe 400. One of the estimates, if you included all of the kids and all of the babies and strollers, maybe upwards of 1,000 people attended the event. And overall, as Mr. El Ali will tell you, it sure seems like a success.
Yeah, it was amazing. I believe it was very successful. We received many positive comments. I personally discussed some of our projects with the community, and they were astonished about what we do. In particular, one area I discussed is how we use the inmates to the benefit of the town and to the benefit of the inmates. They saw the trailer and the truck, and they were impressed with what we do, maintaining our roads in good condition, our landscaping in great condition. In fact, one citizen told me that the stretch of I-10 in the Marana area is the best stretch of I-10 looking. I also believe that the reason I believe it was successful is because I heard comments about, although this is the first macro machine and event, some people told me that it felt like it's the 10th annual.
Again, the good news, successful event. A lot of people had fun. A lot of people gave us feedback to make it an even better event. Some of the people liked the fact that they landed a helicopter in the neighborhood right there by the park, the Marana Heritage River Park. Other people would like to have seen it stay longer. So the event, which again, we think was a success, can improve and will improve. We're already committed to doing it again next year, and whether it coincides with Public Works Week or occurs later or a different time in the year, maybe in the fall when it's a little cooler. Fun event, great event. If you went out there, we hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, next year you'll have another chance to go out and see how Public Works worked.
Sergeant Criswell Scott currently serves as the Public Information Officer with the Marana Police Department. He splits his time between media relations and internal investigations. For this interview, he took me on a police ride-along throughout the community to talk about what it's like working for the Marana Police Department. Like most police agencies, he is greatly influenced and motivated by his leaders.
One of the things that really struck me when I came over here was talking to Chief Rosema and watching him interact with the squads and with all the different officers. And when you hear him talk about, at the heart of the matter, we're servants. It's not a a stat-driven game for us. It's not a numbers game. It doesn't matter how many people you arrest or anything like that. It's really getting out there, being proactive, interacting with the community, and trying to help as best as we can.
Marana Police Department serves a population of approximately 45,000 people, and that number is steadily climbing. Criswell noted that since his time working for Marana, he's noticed a significant shift as Marana recovered from the recession. It's now the fastest growing community in southern Arizona, and with that comes the continued expectation for the police department to consistently provide quality service to its residents. Unparalleled service, unwavering protection, uncompromised integrity is their mission statement, and that means being there wherever they are needed.
Anybody that watches the news, you'll see some of the news articles that have come out recently about, hold times, either calling 911 and being put on hold, or calling 911, getting through and waiting, 4, 5, 6, 8 hours for a police officer to respond for what people like to term quality of life calls. So your car break-ins, maybe a burglary where the suspect is already gone, or something along those lines. One of the things I really love about our department is those quality of life type calls, but we can still get officers there in a very timely fashion. We almost kind of do a disservice to, I think, our community when we push the community members to go online and file reports, because we don't get to talk to the neighbors and find out what they saw, or if there's any suspicious vehicles in the area, or talk to the neighbors and see if maybe their video recording systems around the house caught anything at the neighbor's house across the street. All of that gets lost in translation. At least in Marana, we're still able to investigate these things and really tie these incidents together, and a lot of times really come to really great resolutions where we're able to arrest people that are perpetrating these crimes, and they're held accountable in court.
For the last 2 years, Marana has received recognition for being one of the top 10 safest cities in Arizona. The police department has worked hard to make sure they have a prominent presence in the community, including placing school resource officers at various schools and having strong relationships with business owners. One of Marana PD's more high-profile events include Tip-A-Cop, an annual event held at the Texas Roadhouse to raise money for Special Olympics. And to help combat burglary and theft, Marana PD has released education and outreach materials on Lock It or Lose It, which encourages residents to lock their vehicle doors.
We don't have a lot of violent crime in Marana, so I would say probably the things that you see most as far as crime would be shoplifting, and then larcenies. Those are either vehicle or house, burglaries, that sort of thing. But most of it is just car. We call them car bust, and then shopliftings. I think it kind of just comes with the territory. With us having major shopping areas that are near I-10, there's a lot of people that come into our jurisdiction, and they commit these crimes, and they steal things, and all that. There's theories on why they do that, as far as why they're stealing. Kind of a common thing that I'm seeing is that a lot of the people that we're arresting for shoplifting, a lot of them are battling with addictions, that sort of thing, and they're shoplifting to either sell things or to make money for dope, or they've spent all of their money on dope, and now they're shoplifting things that they need just for daily life. So as far as the car bust, a lot of it is unlocked cars, and we've done several campaigns on social media where we've shared crime maps with folks and kind of let our citizens know where these crimes are happening. But the reality of the situation is, a car bust can happen anywhere, anywhere in Marana. It could be while you're at Walmart. It could be, while your car's parked outside of your house. And what we're seeing is, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we'll have someone that is up to no good, and they'll just go through the neighborhood and they're just pulling car handles. And if your door is unlocked, then they're going to go in and see what's there. A lot of the times when we see forced entry into cars, and what I mean by forced entries, they're breaking windows, that sort of thing. A lot of times it's a crime of opportunity. We've got folks that are leaving, laptops, wallets, that sort of thing in plain view in their vehicles.
And in Marana, sometimes the calls can be quite interesting in ways you'd least expect it. What exactly does a police officer do when they get called to a lost cow running freely through the neighborhood streets?
Well, actually, we have a pretty good relationship with most of the ranchers around here. So our comms has numbers for all of the ranchers. So we look to see if there's any brands or anything like that, or sometimes just depending on what the location is. And we'll call the rancher, and they'll come out and wrangle it up for us.
It's the year 2018, and it seems that everyone is on social media. Your great-grandparents, your kids, even your dogs have their own profiles. What once was unexplored territory for local government agencies is now an expectation in order to maintain a positive connection with the public. Marana Police Department is no different, and Sergeant Scott has played an active role in reaching out to residents through this useful tool.
We've got various forms of social media. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Twitter. I would say that our average Marana citizen, they're probably connecting with us more so on Facebook than anything else. We use Twitter, but a lot of times that's used to push things out to the media. That's what we do there. We do a lot of cross-posting as well, but folks are watching. There's a lot of folks that are on Facebook, and, they see things. I mean, sometimes you'll go on calls and people will approach you and say, hey, I saw this video on Facebook. I thought that was pretty cool. And, it just kind of reminds you that our community really is engaged on social media.
Police officers are considered some of Marana's most high-profile employees, as they are frequently the first encounter many residents may have with local government. And by expanding their reach online, they are able to improve the relationship they have with the overall public.
We get a lot of messages, even through Facebook Messenger, a lot of letters, a lot of emails, that sort of thing. And people are always commending our officers on what a great job they're doing. And the thing about it is I know that the officers are not going out there to receive praise, but it's so appreciated when someone takes the time out of their day to send us a quick note, even if it's on Facebook or with a review on our Facebook page, with just unparalleled service, that it left such an impression on them that they felt compelled to let us know.
The future currently looks bright for the Marana Police Department. As the community grows, the department has increased in staff. They even have a new building. Due to be completed later this year, the new police building will provide a state-of-the-art facility for the Marana Police Department. The project is primarily funded through a dedicated half-cent sales tax that will expire when all of the funds for the project are completed. By utilizing the dedicated tax, the project will be completed debt-free.
Everyone's excited. When I got here 7 years ago, pretty much all of patrol operated out of the Ina Road substation, which was kind of like a double wide, and no holding cells, just really lacking, in everything that we needed. And I'm really appreciative that the chiefs and the community and everyone in the town kind of noticed that we needed better. If we want to be that leader in public safety that we talk about, part of that is also your facilities and they be able to service the public.
This has been part 1 of our interview series with first responders in the Marana community. Check back with us next month for part 2, when we spend some time with Northwest Fire District. Director for Town of Marana, John Kamik, here in the studio with us today. He oversees water and water reclamation. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about what you oversee. Can you talk a little bit about your department?
Sure. Marana Water serves right now about half the town of Marana. We were created in the mid-1990s as a consolidation of some private water companies that were up here and mostly in the North Marana area. Since then, we were mostly providing water services since that time, but since 2012, we've also now been providing wastewater services, or we term it water reclamation, in the North Marana area, being everywhere from Saguaro Bloom Development through Gladden Farms and the traditional downtown area of Marana. So what we oversee at the department is the functional operations of the water system, and we actually have 7 unique and distinct water systems across the town, as well as the wastewater collection system that's up here near Town Hall.
It may sound silly, but what is the importance of water and wastewater to this community?
All right, well, that's a great question. We get that question a lot. Any community has a primary goal of being able to provide water services and water reclamation services. So Marana, being a growing community in a dry area like the state of Arizona, and particularly southern Arizona, we have to manage all of our water efficiently and effectively to be able to meet not only the demands of our customers today, but because we are a growing community, all those customers that we know will be coming tomorrow. So as important as it is, we are regularly regulated by the Arizona Department of Water Resources, as well as the Department of Environmental Quality, to make sure that we can meet those safety needs and those long-term water needs for the community moving forward.
So now when I drink water from the tap or get water from my hose to water my garden, I know that water has been well treated and is managed by you guys if I was in your area.
Yes, so we fall under the Safe Drinking Water Act, which is under EPA, and it's administered by the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. So all of our systems do meet the regulations put forth through the Safe Drinking Water Act. And actually in the next couple of weeks, all of our customers will be receiving their annual Consumer Confidence Report, which details the water quality in their respective service areas and lets them know that we're continuing to meet those standards moving forward.
So the water side of your department has been in action essentially from the 1990s, but the wastewater side is relatively new. Before Marana started operating wastewater, who was and why did we then start taking over wastewater?
That's a great question, and that's actually very important to this community as we move forward. The wastewater operations prior to 2012 was handled by Pima County Wastewater Reclamation Services. Pima County Wastewater basically covers the majority of the area of the wastewater services in the county, with the exception of the town of Sarita. Actually independently runs their wastewater system. With the town of Marana's growth pattern and what our water resource portfolio is and was at the time, we needed to make sure that we were able to capture all the water necessary to move forward and to meet our growth demands. One of the ways you do that in the state of Arizona is by having ownership of the treated, cleaned water at the end of the wastewater process. In Arizona, though, whoever operates the wastewater system is the owner of the water that's produced at the end of the system. So Marana recognized that we needed to have a growing water portfolio if we wanted to continue to grow as a community. So the decision to get into the wastewater business and to have negotiations and an eventual settlement with Pima County to control at least the wastewater management in North Marana started to occur in the late 2000s with an ultimate settlement in 2012.
Well, you mentioned wastewater and the result of it, which is, I assume, the purified water. And I know people hear a lot about water credits and things like that. Are we talking about the same thing here, being responsible for the water that you put back into the ground?
Yes, absolutely. So the town has what's called an assured water supply designation. And what that designation allows us to do is to continue to grow. And what we do is we show on an annual basis to the state of Arizona that we have renewable resources. And those renewable resources for water can come in a variety of flavors, if you will. The one is CAP water. The town does have a contract with the Central Arizona Project for right now 2,336 acre feet of Colorado River water, which we bring to the area. But the other thing that, the other piece of water that we can put in our portfolio is the renewable water of the purified water at the end of the wastewater process. So now with the town being in control of the wastewater process in North Marana, we can purify that water, we can return it back to the environment, and we can get what's called long-term storage credits for our water checkbook moving forward. So we have those renewable resource supplies to continue our designation of assured water.
So at the time that we first acquired the wastewater facility in 2012, were we getting those water credits at that time in that existing facility?
No, we were not. And that was part of the disagreement between the town and Pima County at the time. Pima County in 1979 and the city of Tucson actually had an agreement where the city would be the primary water supplier and the county would be the wastewater treater. But the city was able to retain 90% of the ownership of that purified water at the end of the process. The town of Marana wanted a similar deal. The city of Tucson is very water rich from a renewable resource standpoint with Colorado River water and their effluent resources. The town of Marana was not. So the town wanted a similar deal to at least have ownership of the effluent that would be coming out of the Marana water reclamation plant off of Luckett Road. That could not be agreed upon, so the only other option was to outright have a settlement with the county where we purchased the sewer collection system in North Marana. So now we are the 100% owners of the water that purified at the end of that process.
So let's talk about what that process actually is. If I, a homeowner, generate wastewater, how does that get to the plant?
Okay, so everybody that's connected to the sewer system, you have sewers running through your street. Your house is connected to sewer pipes. The majority of the system is gravity, which makes sewer systems unique. They're not under pressure. They're gravity flow, so all the pipes on your roads have to be tilted just the right way so that water, that sewage can make it to a treatment facility. Our treatment facility is off of Luckett Road, just north of Marana Road in the northwest corner of the town. Once it gets to that facility, conventional treatment processes that are been used for decades and decades is the first step is you remove any solids like materials that are in the process. That could be a 2x4 or a toy that someone flushes. It could be anything that ends up in the sewer system. So those initially get removed and are thrown away as garbage. But the primary part of the sewage treatment system is what's called secondary treatment, and that's biological treatment. And that's where we use microbes or trillions of town employees, as I like to call them, to actually break down the waste product in the wastewater and to denitrify it. That is the primary goal, is to take all that ammonia and that nitrogen-containing material, which can be harmful to the environment if released, and break that down and to release it to nitrogen gas, which is the primary component of our atmosphere. So once it gets through that process, then we do some standard filtration as well as what we call ultraviolet light disinfection. So it would kill any remaining microbes or virus or other pathogens like that, and then the water has been released to the environment safely.
So now you have a new treatment facility that will now take in a larger amount of wastewater. Is that correct?
Correct.
And now we can begin the process to put that water back into the ground so we can collect water credits. Can you talk a little bit about what this new process looks like compared to what we had before?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually an exciting time for not only the team at Marana Water and the town, but it should be an exciting time for all of our customers and our future customers. So what we received from the county was a 500,000 gallon per day facility, a very rudimentary facility. And what we've been able to do in the last couple years, we've needed to expand that. We are reaching that capacity of the 500,000 gallons per day right now. So part of the expansion is now taking that facility, that older facility, replacing it with a 1.5 million gallon per day facility that's going to be more efficient to treat the wastewater coming in, and it's going to have that expanded capacity for all the new houses that we're starting to see in the North Marana area. So we actually started that new plant on June 19th at 1:04 p.m. We're very excited. It's been working great so far, just in the last couple of days, and it's starting to produce some really good water. Now, how that all ties in for why it's important for the Marana Water customers in the town, because when we did this project, we also made next door to the wastewater treatment facility what's called an aquifer recharge facility. Now, because we are the 100% owners of the water that we're treating, and this is the water created and bought and paid for by the Marana Water customers, we're going to be able to treat that water, take it to what's called a Class A plus standard with the Department of Environmental Quality. That's an A plus reclaimed water standard, which means it's safe for open access and irrigation and other things, but it's also safe to return back to the groundwater aquifer of our area. So next to the plant, we have 3 large basins that are dug out of what was previously a farm field, and the water, the purified water from the new treatment plant will get diverted to this aquifer recharge facility. Will be allowed to percolate and into the aquifer for storage for future customers, and giving us those much needed what are called long-term storage credits for our water portfolio moving forward.
Well, you mentioned the water cycle. That I assume would also involve conservation and things like turning off the tap and maybe not using too much water when you brush your teeth, things like that as well.
Exactly. And conservation is a message that Marana Water, as well as all the other water agencies, particularly in the West, are always promoting. We do have to go through tremendous lengths to build up our water resource portfolio and acquire more resources. But the thing that our customers help us do is by becoming more efficient. Conservation is going to be a bigger message with the Marana Water Department moving forward. We do have a lot of conservation type materials on our website that residents and businesses can visit to understand how to be more efficient at their house. But we're seeing things, and we want to make sure that we can encourage all of our customers to, if you have an old, simple things, if you have an old clothes washer or an old dishwasher that is probably greater than 10 years old, it's most likely not a high efficiency operation or appliance. It will pay for itself in not too long of a time. If you upgrade those appliances at your home, you'll see a reduction in your water bill, as well as we'll see a reduction on the demand on the water system as a whole for the town. So there's little things that we want to make sure all of our residents and customers know about, that they could take advantage to be more water conscious in their house, to help save money, and to help the town in the future with its water portfolio.
So we flipped the switch on a new facility. What's the next step?
Well, what we're planning to do once we, now that we're operating, and once we start making really clean water there and finalize and complete the actual construction of the whole facility, we're hoping that this fall, maybe in September or October, we'll have an official ribbon cutting commemorating this new achievement for the town.
Great. So for anybody that wants to get information on this, just keep an eye on our website at maranaaz.gov and to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks again for joining us, John.
Thank you.
The primary election is in late August, which means now's the time to start getting ready if you want to vote. Usually when people think of elections, they think of nationwide issues, but it's local government that has the biggest impact on your daily life. So, why are local elections important?
At the local level, elections are really where the rubber meets the road in terms of democracy. So if you are looking for input into policies that will have an immediate and direct impact on your life, that happens at the local level. Do you want parks? Do you need service to sewers? Do you want new development? Do you want to have businesses? That's all determined at the local level, and we kind of rely on local policymakers to give us that direction. You wouldn't have a town without an election.
That was Deputy Town Clerk Hillary Heiser telling us a little bit about the importance of elections. Brad, let's talk a little bit about what elections means at the local level, and I guess that begins with what our elected officials are. Can you tell us about the town council?
Sure. Policy within the town of Marana, whether it be ordinance, resolutions, orders, or motions, are conducted by the town council, which is the mayor and the 6 town council members. In addition to casting a vote on proposed actions brought before the council, the mayor also presides as the chair for the council meetings. He's the one who calls it to order. He's the one who will call for a vote. Just kind of runs the meeting. The mayor is vested with the authority to make recommendations and or suggestions to the council for consideration. The mayor's signature executes and authenticates actions passed by the town council. That being said, he doesn't have veto power. He doesn't decide everything that gets voted on. It truly is a democracy, because what you also have is you have the 6 council members. That includes the vice mayor, which we'll talk about in a moment. And they are elected officers of the town and are vested with corporate powers, which are, as we mentioned before, exercised by ordinance, resolution, order, and motion. So what does that mean? They basically vote on the things that become what shape the town, whether it's approving the budget, as we talked about earlier, whether it's deciding kind of a direction for certain things. They are the ones who can grant some of the building projects, things like that. They make those decisions, and they guide town staff in how to execute that vision. Now, we mentioned the vice mayor. The council members choose a vice mayor from among them. That's one of the 6, just by a majority vote. It's not up to the public does not choose the vice mayor. The mayor does not pick a running mate like you would see in a presidential election. The vice mayor does serve a 2-year term. The vice mayor's term can be extended after each election, and the vice mayor serves in the absence or disability of the mayor. So it's a very important position, but again, unlike vice president, which is chosen by the president when you see your national elections, the vice mayor is chosen by the other council members from within their own ranks.
I think it's important to note that the council you described falls in line with the council manager form of government, which means the council collectively as a unit makes decisions by majority vote, and they give their direction to a town or city manager, and that manager oversees the operations of all of the respective departments of the town. So to be on the council means that you get to play a role in that. The town of Marana, as of May 2018, has over 25,000 registered voters, with 15,000 of those voters enrolled on the the permanently early voting list. From here on out, we'll reference that as PEVEL. Registered independent or party unaffiliated voters are eligible to vote in the primary election, but they must contact the Pima County Recorder's Office to request a primary ballot. The reason for this is because the primary ballot is either Republican or Democrat. As I said before, the primary election is later in August 28th to be exact. We will have 4 open council seats. Independent voters must either request a partisan ballot or a nonpartisan municipality-only ballot. Selecting a partisan ballot for the primary election will not affect an independent voter's registration status. For more information, you can contact the Pima County Recorder's Office. You can also visit maranaaz.gov. Independent voters choosing to vote at the polls need only request a ballot at their polling place.
We want to stress the importance of the primary election in August. We know a lot of people traditionally wait for general elections to vote when things are on kind of a bigger stage. But due to town statute, the first opportunity to vote for the Marana Town Council members is in the primary election. And historically, those elections are decided in the primary election. Unless there is a runoff of some sort, the town council members will not appear on the general ballot and will be decided in August. So that is why it is important to get out and vote in the primary election. This also means it's important to just get out and vote. By voting for your town council, by voting in local elections, you have a greater influence on the direction of the town. Strong voter turnouts give the town leaders a better idea of what the citizens want, what policies they want, and what they want the town to do. The higher the number of voters that turn out, the better we know if we are meeting the citizens' needs. Smaller turnout means just that small portion are getting their say in what they want. So if you want to be involved, if you want to have your say, get out and vote in that primary election.
For more information on voter registration, polling locations, early ballots, and candidate filings, visit maranaaz.gov. We'll see you at the polls.
Thank you for listening to Marana Town Talk. We'd love to hear from you. Have questions, feedback, or story ideas? Let us know at maranaaz.gov/newsroom, or you can email us at communications@maranaaz.gov.
We'll return every month with interesting stories about the community. Until next time, follow the Town of Marana on Facebook and Twitter. For Brad Alice, I'm Vic Hathaway.